Hello, my loves. I want to thank you for tuning in to the second episode of the Pretty Girl Privilege podcast, my new love child. I don't know if that's how I want to say that, but y'all feel me. So lately, I've been thinking about this thing. One of my mom's friends, Miss Lily, who I always had so much admiration for, she would say, they know my glory, but they don't know my story. Or they see my glory and they don't know my story. Because this lady was always dressed down. You hear me? She left no crumbs, not one. And she just had like this class and this elegance about herself, the way she carried herself, what she drove, who she was married to, whatever the season, she was on top. But I just always remember her saying that and wondering what was her story. You know, I am very into the stories of others. I love that. But I recognize that a lot of people don't know mine. And sometimes when people don't know your story, they make assumptions and they have these misconceptions. And so part of this podcast is opening up a space where I get to just tell my story and hopefully let other people and help other people to come on and tell their stories as well, at least inspire that. So, you know, I wanted to dig a little more deeply into that. And today I was thinking about like my outlook on life. And I remember recently, probably over the last year, my family was having a conversation because, you know, my family likes to engage verbally with each other. I tend to shy away from it because I just don't like talking about stuff to people. I know it sounds crazy because you're like, what do you mean? You speak for a living. You have a platform. You're on the radio. You have a podcast. And I'm just like, I get all of that. But I think it's more so if I don't have something to add to the collective conversation that I feel is going to uplift things, why am I speaking? But anyway, my family was having this conversation and there were negative undertones being directed at the subjects of the conversation. And I remember volunteering my tiny bit of input. And it was like I completely put a positive spin on this thing that is normally viewed in a negative way. And I just was saying something along the lines, well, what if that's not what they meant to do? Or what if there was some underlying cause that we don't know about that, you know, they had this necessity to move that way in that moment. And it wasn't about being mean or spiteful or selfish. It was just, you know, a human experience or a human mistake. And that's just the way I kind of look at stuff. But I remember my older brother looked at me and he stopped. I felt like everything stopped for a minute because he just looked at me and kind of tilted his head to the side and it was like, you really do see the good in everything, don't you? And I said, I try to. And that was like the end of that conversation, but it was very impactful for me because it was the first time I acknowledged that trait of myself. And I realized that sometimes people in this world have tried to take advantage of me because I do try to see the good. And some people just don't move like that. But I remember having one of my male friends, we were having a conversation about this guy I had been dating. And this was a while back. But the guy, he needed something. He was telling me this story about like all this bad luck he had fallen into and he needed this thing. And I gave it to him. And then I talked to my friend and I was like, I wonder if he's just using me because I kind of feel that energy now. And like, was I manipulated? And my friend goes, it doesn't really matter, you know? What was the spirit of you giving that to him? Because that's what matters. And I started looking at more things that way in life. So I don't have to sit and worry, like, is this person trying to get over on me? Do they really need this? Like, I don't need your sob story. Either I have it to give or I don't. And that's with all things, energy, resources, time, whatever. I just think it's essential to move that way. You know, my best friend some years back, and we've been best friends since we were like 14. And so she looks at me and goes, Tori, you're selfish. Or it may have been on the phone, I don't remember. But she was like, Tori, you're selfish. And I was like, what do you mean? Because you see, I surround myself with people who, if they speak, I really listen. I don't listen to a bunch of noise from the outside world, but my inner circle, they can stop me in my tracks and make me look at myself or look at something the way I was viewing it and not necessarily change, but definitely take it in and see if this is accurate, you know? So she said I was selfish, and I thought about it. I wasn't really offended. I do remember that because, okay, I just wanted to hear, you know, her reasoning. She was like, I mean, you do nice things for people, but you only do what you want to do. And I sat with it for a minute and I said, okay, that's accurate. And I explained to her that I move intentionally in that way. So I'm okay with that label, if that's what that label means to you, because you never have to worry about if I wanted to do something for you, or if I'm feeling resentful because I did this thing for you, or if I feel like you owe me something back because I did this thing for you. No, baby, if I did something for you, it's just because I wanted to. If I'm taking care of you, it might be for my own mental ease, because I feel like I would just be concerned or worried about you if I were not doing that. So what's the point of me going off here and living my life and not taking care of this person who I care so much about? So it's more about me than you most of the time when I'm giving to you anyway. So go off. I just feel it's important to have a level of selfishness and self-centeredness about yourself, because people will put these negative connotations on those labels. And the reality is that if you take care of yourself and make sure you're good, you can start serving from your overflow. But when we're out here self-sacrificing and putting everybody else first, then we're constantly under-serving both us and them, because we're shortchanging ourselves. So what exactly do we have to give the next person when you're already shortchanging you? Baby, no, that's not how this should work. And it's not how it's going to work in my life. And I think it's very important to be self-centered, because when you are centered on yourself, then that means you're not everywhere else. You're not focused on this person. You don't have all this time to sit in judgment and say, oh my God, why are those people over there wearing pink shirts today and we know it's Purple Shirt Thursday? You don't have time for that. You don't have time to look at social media and say, oh my God, they just got a new house and car and dog. I really want a new dog. This dog is so trash. I mean, you don't have time for those moments of comparison, because you are centered on yourself. You're figuring out, what exactly does success and happiness look like for me? What do I define as stability? What type of person do I want to be? How do I want to show up in this world? And it becomes more of a thing of looking at yourself in the mirror and actually stepping up to that vision you have of yourself, instead of posting who you want people to think you are on social media, or going out and pretending in public. Because I don't think people who post on social media great things, or are always outside showing this and showing that, I don't think that they are faking. I just think that when you haven't taken the time to be self-reflective, then things start to blur, lines start to blur. And so to keep a clear view, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what genuinely makes my heart sing? And I don't think there's anything wrong if taking pictures of your life and yourself all the time is fun for you. I just want to make sure you're doing it because that's what you want to do, and not because you want someone else to think this thing about you, you know? I think whatever it is that really makes your heart sing is okay. The most important thing in this life is to come from a genuine, authentic place. People respect authenticity. That's why you'll find people saying crazy stuff like they respect the hate group. But the reality is that the respect lies in the fact that that group is standing on business. This is what they firmly believe, and this is how they're going to handle that. And I may not agree with your ideology in any way, but I do get why people can have respect for people, standing on business. And also, when it comes to stuff like that, I see you coming, versus someone who hides negative feelings about me because I am a certain way and I don't see you coming. And I'm like, wow, like, where did that come from? And it comes from, oh, I thought you knew. I really don't like people who wear purple pants on Fridays. Y'all are trash. So whatever the thing is, I think that's all important. I think the most important thing you're going to find out in this life is learning to define you for you so you can really walk in that authentic path. And that is it. That is all. I don't want to ramble on for days and months and years. I will be back with the next episode. I'm so hyped you even tuned into this one. You with me? But I got you every week, at least once a week. It's the Pretty Girl Privilege Podcast with me, Baby Doll. I love me some you, and don't you forget it.